Hello. I hope you can hear us well. Let us know in the chat because we had some issues fixing. Everything works fine until the very last moment when suddenly you get echo all over the place. So welcome to another session of the security group. It's the first time. Okay, thank you very much, loud and clear. First time we do this on this Twitch channel. Maybe you have been watching some of our previous shows on LinkedIn, but we try to do it in another setting. So my name is Yves de Beer, and together with Peter Volkaert, and we will be presenting here some details about the endpoint management with MaaS360. So if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. We've been doing some live demos, so hope that works out fine. So let's see, we have a start with a short presentation. A couple of slides, won't take long, just to set the scene. So let's get started.
All right.
So, we used to talk about enterprise management, endpoint management systems, mobile device management, application management. We're not only talking about mobile devices, we also talk about endpoints like tablets, desktops, IoT devices. So we're more talking about unified endpoint management. So what does this involve is that we can use a single console to configure everything, which will show you in the demo how we can fix these mobile devices and get control of them. Of course, it's also interesting if you have a single point of view on these devices that you can integrate this with security systems such as SIEM and ticketing systems. Also within the whole Microsoft ecosystem, for example, your user directory and those kind of things. There's some pretty nice features as well when we're talking about enterprise security level. Maybe not in this session, but we will certainly come back to that when we'll look at mobile threat management. And it can also help you to handle or be alerted about ransomware or phishing attempts. So that's also something interesting that we'll be looking to view in the future. And of course, there's some analytics here. We're talking about MaaS360 with Watson. Now that's where the Watson kicks in as a sort of an advisor to get some more risk scores about the possible exposures that you have. Taking control of a device once it is managed, that can mean a lot of things. We can automate the device for have control through our emails that can connect to our enterprise server. We can use some remote actions like lock, even wipe in case of a stolen device, for example, send messages, and even remote support via TeamViewer. Some advanced policy controls, Peter will show it in the demo. And of course, all about data management. For example, only control the device that it's able to use Wi-Fi, maybe not handy for a mobile phone, but certainly maybe for tablets or kiosk devices. And here's a more overview of the components of MaaS360. So you get at the lowest level your devices, even wearables, and Internet of Things devices. And then you have the applications that you control from MaaS360, which applications can be distributed and used in an enterprise context. Even with some advanced access management like multi-factor authentication, detection of threats, and all those kind of integrations. And of course, then the console gives you an overview about the insights. Some resources I put over here is the MaaS360 product landing page. Have a look at that landing page. From there you get some nice use cases, and you can even start a free trial demo. I think it's for 30 days. So you can do the same things that we're about to show you here. And if you're not aware already, there's a great security learning academy, not only to follow free courses on the MaaS360, but all the IBM products on security. You can follow quite a lot of courses over there, or even webinars, seminars that have been held in the past. So that's about it for me now. So I think, Peter, we'll switch over to you so you can.
All right. Let me see. So I'll directly start with. All right. So hi again. So as Yves told you, I'm Peter Volkaert, more like an identity and access management specialist. But of course, users and device, they are like a horse and carriage, especially in the world of zero trust, where context is extremely important. And of course, device context is one of these things that we want to take into account when we're properly trying to do security. So what do we have here? So we're going to focus on showing things, and we've set up a demo for MaaS360, our endpoint management solution. And in this session, we're going to, in fact, keep it pretty simple. We're going to enroll a user, or rather enroll a device of a user, starting from zero, in fact. So next to me is, well, um, what I have here, and I don't see exactly what I'm doing here, but you probably see it. I have an old Motorola Moto 5 Android next to me. That's what I'm going to use as a device example. And then we're going to create a fictitious person, and then connect these two, and then see what we can do with the setup, talk about policies and so on. So step one is I'm going to the MaaS360 console. Do you see everything right, Yves? Because
Yeah.
All right, MaaS360. So it's a SaaS solution, SaaS only. I'm logged in here, and this is the tenant, my tenant for testing that I have here. I have a number of things to do, of course. There's devices, users, security, applications that you can control, reports, and of course the setup. First thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce a new user, a new person. So therefore I go to users directory, and I'm going to add a user. So adding this user in a manual way is not exactly the way enterprises should do it, or at least not the medium or large size companies, but rather they should integrate, for example, with their Active Directory or with their own user registry. It can be an LDAP. You can also integrate with Azure AD. So we have these possibilities to integrate in a more fluent, let's say, automatic fashion. What we're going to do here is we're going to add a new brand, a new user, in the spirit of show, don't tell. And we're going to just note it here, a name. I'm going to name her Jane Wilkins. Type in some data here. domain, it's identity and access management labs.com. For the email address, I'm going to choose this handy demo mail application, or which is called Mailinator. So she has a Mailinator address, something that I can easily use later on. Authentication type, I leave as such. Endpoint security policy, that's probably for a next session. And then let's give her some Belgium. We're based in Belgium, both Eve and myself. So why not make a little publicity? And hopefully that's a number that does not exist. Office location, let's say something like this. All right, so this is the way you add a user into the system. Voila, that's what we have. We have a user. Well, not a big deal, of course. The user has his data, the data that just put in. Of course, you can add groups or put the user in groups that you can then use in policies to say, okay, I want this group of users to have that kind of policy. No devices yet, and that's of course the next step we're going to do. We're going to add Jane's device, so this device, into the system, making that connection between the user and her device. So selecting here, for example, you look at the username, Jane Wilkins, I'm going to add the device. So that's the enrollment phase. Pretty simple. And in the demo, we're going to choose for something that's called self-enrolment. So, and contrary to an enterprise enrollment where you can in fact deliver these phones preset for everything. So this is more like a bring your own device scenario where Jane has an existing phone, and I'm going to manage this now through the solution. Add device. So adding a device for an administration, and this is something that you can easily do during your trial, of course, is simply clicking add device, verify a number of things like phone number. You can notify the user that he has to self-enroll. This can be done through email or SMS. SMS in my case, it's not easy because there's no SIM in the phone. So I'm going to choose for email. And then I'm going to send a request. That's all I need to do. So in fact, then this screen is not actually used. I'm now going to switch over on what's happening on the other side, and that's the side of the phone. And therefore, I'm going to share what's on my screen here. And I'm over here now. Okay. So this is the Android phone, and next is I received the mail through that Mailinator system. And then I'm expecting a mail for my person. See if I don't type anything wrong. Jane.Wilkins looks good. And then I get into her mailbox, and she has this device enrollment request, which she simply has to follow to get started. So we're looking at the mail right here, and it's some explanation on what to do. And it's simply saying, okay, if you want to enroll, this is what you need to do. There's a device enrollment URL. This is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to click on this, and then I'll be thrown towards the MaaS360 instance, where I will have to authenticate using a password, passcode rather. It's something that I will already copy here. Copy that. And then I use my phone to go to this URL, and this is happening right now. So at that side, I get further instructions on what to do. And what to do is pretty simple. Step one, I'm going to install an app. So it's a regular app. It's an app that everyone can download. In fact, it's coming from regular app stores, such as the Google Play Store in our case. And I'm going to install that app. No thanks. That was a message from the Moto 5. I'm going to install that application. It's directing me, in fact, to the Google Play Store. That's the regular store. And I will do an install. So this is, let's say, a light application, but of course with lots of power because it's going to manage your phone, or at least parts of it. It's installing this right now.
Well, it will be depending on the policies that you have set.
Yes, what it can do exactly, or what it is determined by the policies that are set. And so in this case, there's, or in every case, in fact, there's a default policy that is going to be set upon enrollment of the user. And we can take a look at that a little bit later. So step one is done. I've installed the application. Step two is I have to configure it. So this will, in fact, if I just typed configure, it will now enter the MaaS360 app and do this kind of customization and initialization of the system of the MaaS360 app. You also saw it generating a unique device ID, something that's pretty important in the world of endpoint device management. You also saw me copying the passcode to authenticate. By the way, this can also be a little bit stronger with multi-factor authentication. Here we just used this passcode. Next is, of course, I have to accept the terms, which each of us, of course, very attentively will read.
You know them by heart, eh?
Okay, but for the sake of the demo, I'm not going to read this out loud and make sure that everybody understands. I'm just going to say, I have read and accept the terms and press continue. So now in the back, he's doing lots of things, in fact, connecting to the server, see if everything is all right. And then finally, because this is what is called in MaaS360 the device administrator mode of doing, as opposed to the Android enterprise way of doing, you have to manually accept a number of things. Okay, wait, this is, voila. So next is he's going to ask, okay, dear, do you accept the following rights, in fact, for the MaaS360 app? And it's not too surprisingly, and you can read these for yourself, that these are pretty powerful things that the application wants to do, like erasing all data. In the case of a remote wipe, for example, it can set password rules, very important thing, of course, when talking about security in general, but also mobile. Lock the screen, do all these fancy security stuff. Disable cameras is another one. Okay, I don't have a lot of choice. I need to say, okay, activate this device admin app. And setup is then completed. And there we go. So what happened right now is that you already saw something, namely that in the default policy, there is he's asking to, okay, you need to install the Zscaler client. So Zscaler is, as you may know, it's an application used by many businesses also to have sort of a network proxy access. And this might be some of the requirements, in fact, that you can already put there as part of the compliance. So I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to see what's happening on the server side and leave this device a little bit apart. And I'm now, in fact, going to look at what happened here. So, Jane Wilkins, is there something to see there? Yes, of course, because the user is now connected to or now owns a device, and that device has been given automatically a name like with the user full name dash and then the type of device, which is a Motorola G5. Um, Voila, so that's one thing. And then of course, in the devices tab, when I look at all the devices in my test environment, which is of course limited, I can see there's one brand new, which is the one I just enrolled. So let's now take a look at these parameters and what's in there. There are three sections, in fact, and most interesting are the top two. It's the hardware inventory, where you get an exact view on what device we're talking about, the operating system, the unique device ID that has been determined by the system itself, manufacturer, Android version, and so on. Also, the way it was enrolled, that's the device administrator mode. The ownership. Ownership is something that you set as part of the settings of the enrollment. So in this case, I choose for it's corporate owned. Then there's workplace and security. It's the more interesting part, let's say, when it comes to security. So you can now see that the status is enrolled. We applied a specific policy, namely the default Android mobile device management policy. When it was last reported, if it's jailbroken, yes or no. When if things about the compliant, for example, the passcode status is now compliant. Is there an out of compliance? Yes, there is. There is an out of compliance, and you can also see the requirement. So the Zscaler app client is missing. So that's something that can, of course, be fixed by and I propose to do this as the next step, in fact, by distributing this application to the user. So let's do that. So device, user, we now have these two coupled. And within the application, of course, an important part of the security is exactly to manage the applications that run on the device, on the devices. So therefore, I go to the portal and I choose the app catalog. And in the app catalog, you can see a number of applications that I've in fact added. So it's up to the administrator of the MaaS360 system to add applications, choose these either from the public Play stores or from somewhere else, like for their own from their own app store, or a B2B specific app store from Apple or from Google, for example, and then add this to the system so that they can be what we call in this application distributed. So what I will do is I will now distribute this Zscaler client connector to the device I've just added to my system. So distribution can take place, of course, for for all devices, for a group of devices, or for a specific device. For the sake of the demo, I will use my demo device and send a notification and an email to let the person know that it's distributed. All right, so let's see what's happening on this side. And where's, here we go. So maybe it's now is a good time to take a look at what's in this MaaS360 app. Let me start anew, that'll be clearer. So you can see on the screen,
We can't see her, yeah, okay.
Okay, sorry. So I'm on the phone here. You can see there's this MaaS360 app that's running. And a number of things. So within the app, so when you enter the app, there are different tiles like, for example, app catalog. Oh, I do it again. I'm using my mouse to get to the, the custom version. All right. Yeah, forget about this. It's just about a collection. It's not relevant to this demo. Well, okay, I will allow it to manage phone calls. Can't make phone calls anyway, because there's no SIM in here. And then if I go to app catalog, I can see that it's distributed. So it's distributed within MaaS360. And I can now, in fact, say, okay, let's install it. And if you install it, you will be redirected to the Play Store for installation, continue. And then the user can start installing this application, which is fine. So that's distribution of applications. And a bit later on, I will also show you on how this works when there's a policy that says, okay, this or that application, you're not allowed to use that, right? So in my demo of the security policies, I will show you an example of that. Okay, what's next? So let's now, since I've installed this, I would expect that the non-compliance is gone, in fact. And if I look, and I'm back in the MaaS360 application here. So if I look at settings, let's take a look at settings. That's a good idea. So in the settings, you can, it's something for the end user, right? But he can be helpful for the administrator also when he's asking the end user to look at the application itself. So now the device is compliant per all policies defined, since I just installed that required app. I can see the policies that were enforced. Some of them are not too relevant or important right now, but I'll just show them. The most interesting ones, like enabled camera, enabled Bluetooth, enabled Wi-Fi. These are the policies that are enabled by that default mobile device management policy. I can see the data of my device, which can be interesting. Again, like device ID, very important thing in context-based and anti-fraud detection, in fact. And in fact, this kind of things like a unique device ID, it's something that MaaS360 has worked together with our research department from Trusteer Anti-Fraud, which are highly specialized in this matter. Let's look at a location also, because in my environment, I've set a number of locations, and these locations are IBM Belgium. It's our main office, BLS, and IBM Luxembourg. And what does this mean? This means that, well, whenever I grant location access, which I'm now about to do, if I type this one, yes, I will allow it. It allows you to do location-based policies, which is pretty nice. What does it mean? It means that you can, in fact, put a policy depending on where the user is at. For example, if he's in Belgium or is in Luxembourg. I know this is for highly regulated things, of course, and you shouldn't bother too much. But in some industries, it's pretty important where you are, in fact, and what policies are applied depending on your location.
It's more like
So
a geofencing kind of
yeah,
capability,
yeah,
right?
it's geofencing in that. It's geofencing, but it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit more than that. With geofencing, it's more like, okay, it's more like a fence. Here, it's more location-based policy. For example, when you're in IBM Belgium, we're expecting you to only connect to, for example, a Wi-Fi with SSID equals to whatever, IBM Belgium maybe, or some other. Um, and oh, wait, this screensaver thing is causing some annoyance here. So, but you can also see, so meanwhile, since I gave him the right permissions to do my location, he can now see, okay, this is the home. Where are you now? It's the home of Peter V, Peter Volkart. It's just to do something funny. It's probably not very enterprise ready to do so, but the other locations are. So based on the SSID, which I did for this one, so it's looking at my SSID, which has a specific name. If he sees that, if you're connected to that, he says, okay, you are over there. And then there's also the address based, which is, yeah, here I had to give in the address to, 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 to make the location work. So that's location. So I think these are the most interesting things to see here. So we looked at settings, we looked at the app catalog in the MaaS360. Next is policies. And okay, let's go back then to our MaaS360 console. But maybe before we first look at the policies, let's look again at the device.
Should be compliant, right?
Should be compliant now, indeed. Where can I see it? Oh, I can see it over here. Over here, it's maybe I'll make the screen a little bit bigger. I forgot to do so, in fact.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's more, more readable for the audience. So the policy compliance is now in compliance, which is fine. You can also see other things, and which can be pretty interesting. So I can see, okay, which apps are installed on my device. And there you go. There you see this list of applications that are installed on the user. There can be an inspiration, for example, if you see applications like TikTok over there, can be an inspiration for the administrator to say, okay, TikTok, some versions do have problems with, for example, malware or spyware or whatever. And
I see there
yeah,
that you can remove the app directly.
uh, yeah, that's well, to be honest, Eve, I didn't see that you could do that, but apparently you can, with the right permissions, you can also remove the app. It's maybe something that we can do at the end of the scenario.
Yeah, because you still
Because
need
first,
TikTok, right?
yeah, but by accident, well, not of course, I installed TikTok on the user's device. So, and in my policy, which I'm about to show right now, I've set a policy that says, okay, let me stop talking and simply show you. All right. So currently, the policy for that device is the default Android MDM policy, which is pretty light. So it only checked, in fact, if the Zscaler client connector application was there. In the policy that I prepared for the demo, I've been adding something. So first off, there's a policy on the passcode. Since if you look at the device and it's now locked, that's why it's black, and I try to unlock it, then I will have to provide my secret pattern. As you can see, it's an L, and to get into the device. That's so in my policy, I said, okay, that's not enough. What I want, in fact, is I want a numeric pin for six numbers, and so on. So let's look at the policy. So the policy that I will, after this explanation, will distribute is this one. It's called the Identity and Access Management Labs Android MDM policy. And just to give you an idea, this is pretty. There are lots of parameters for a device. There's device settings, advanced settings, and so on. So we don't have the time, in fact, to run through all of these. I will simply show you some of them that have changed, and one of them is pretty important. Part of device settings, it's the passcode. So, and this is kind of not so expected. In fact, wait. Okay, yeah. I don't know what went wrong there. I thought I saw a no, but it's a yes, indeed, yes. So passcode, that's the way you enter your mobile device. I configured it to be, and let me go in edit mode so you can see a little bit better. So configure passcode policy. Yes. Numeric passcode quality, numeric. So as opposed to the other possibilities like pattern, as it's now on the device, pattern is not enough. I choose numeric, can also be much, more strict, let's say, like alphanumeric, for example. And then, of course, the length, 6, just reasonable. Do you allow fingerprint? Yes. Face recognition? Yes. And so on. A passcode age also. So expiration of the passcode will be, or a new passcode can only last for 90 days. History, that kind of typical password policy, in fact. So that's something that I've set for this purpose. So when I'm going to distribute or apply and force this policy to the device, it will alarm me. Let me see what other stuff I've put there. I don't think in security.
Yeah, there's also quite some extensive topics around encryption and the container that MaaS360 deploys on your MaaS360 on the device to make it secure and encrypt all the data on the device, right?
Yeah, indeed, that's a good remark, Yves. So what we're looking at here is like a bit of the regular mobile device management policy, where we're going to manage or put a policy on the device. But there's also within MaaS360 what is called the workplace policy. And this is more where you determine what users can actually do with your data within the device, which is different indeed. Mm-hmm. And this is where you can do quite some data leakage prevention, and doing the stuff like the remote wipe, the well-known remote wipe, where in fact you can wipe or erase all data that is used within that container that Yves talked about. So you have a container with all your, let's say, critical enterprise data. Whenever there's something wrong with the device, with the user, or whatever, you can remote wipe the device. Also, when you start using these containers, you are sure that it's correctly encrypted and no one can ever read it, except of course within 20, 30 years with quantum computing, of course. Um, but yeah, these are quite different policies, in fact, beyond device settings, in fact. But in this simple demo, we're showing we're putting a focus, or we start with showing the regular things, right? Um, when talking about, yeah, I wanted to come to, well, we're not going to discuss all of those. Let's go to application
Where you want to
compliance.
block the access to TikTok, right?
Yes, there we
There
are.
it is. Yeah.
Going to make it a little bit smaller again, maybe, because otherwise it's hard to see for myself. So one of the restricted applications here is, and these must be specified by ID, is TikTok. So with TikTok, so you can say, okay, TikTok is a restricted application. What does it mean? It means that you can put a specific action on that, either block from use, or a little bit less strict, in fact, prompt the user to uninstall the app. So in this case, I've chosen block from use. So that means that there's an in-compliance whenever TikTok is present, something I'll be showing in just a few minutes. Then there's trust tier threat management, something I've put on. So as I already said, we work within IBM, we work together with the different divisions, of course, and MaaS360 is working together with Trustier to in fact embed an SDK within the MaaS360 app that allows you to detect malware and also take an action upon malware. Something that maybe in the next session we can actually show, in fact, where we will put some malware on the machine, on the device.
That'll be fun playing with some malware.
Yeah, we surely find some malware to install on our test devices, and then show that this is actually working, in fact, and stopping the malware to do is the bad things. And anything else? Well, not too much, in fact.
Well, if you use a trial account, you can play around with this and have a look at all the details.
Yeah, indeed. And you have a trial account in just a few minutes, and you can start managing some of your devices. So this is the policy. Let's now apply that policy to our device. So I'm going back to our device, which is at this moment compliant. And I will now change the policy. And for that, I choose change policy. I use this policy now. That's the policy we've just discussed. And do a submit. And then I'll show you what's happening on the device itself. So I got this ring telling me that the device, so this is the MaaS360 application saying that it's telling me that your device is out of compliance, and You have, in fact, a bit less than 10 minutes to correct this. This is configurable, of course. One of the things you need to do is to change the device passcode. So this is something I need to do because previously it was only a pattern that was used. Now I will have to change it and make sure that the device passcode is numeric. So let's do that first. I will continue without fingerprints. I will have to choose. Like, let's me first make this a little bit bigger, like this pin. Then I will have to choose a pin. So that's done. Still, there's another incompliance or warning from MaaS360 saying, okay, you need to enable the what is called usage access permission. That's a permission to, which is pretty privileged, in fact, to see what exactly you're using, consuming on the level of data, and so on from the for the MaaS360 app. So what I need to do here, so I get this list. This is a regular Android. You can see that some of these services like the Google Play service and the Play Store already have this access. I will also have to permit the access for MaaS360. So that's done. Next, so you didn't see any, no, wait, maybe, yeah, do you have a question, Yves, or?
No. It's okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what you didn't see, because is that, so I put this policy for TikTok. So if I now go and tap TikTok, I will get this screen saying, okay, restricted. You cannot use this app. It's a restricted app per corporate policy. Okay. So this is in fact one of the settings I set. I said, okay, the user must not uninstall, but he cannot use TikTok. All right. Anything else I'd like to say or show? I don't think so, unless I forgot something. Yves, what do you think? That there's
I
of
think
course.
it's okay for a session. We're about the top of the hour already. We started a bit later, but I don't see any questions in the chat for the moment. So
we forgot, of course, about the funny thing there with the buzz.
Yeah, that's something you need to show. Yeah, the buzz is quite impressive.
Especially on this old Motorola.
It really scares you off.
Yeah, buzz is in fact sending a message. To the phone.
Okay.
Thing is, now I have to first press my code to stop this. That's it for the fun part then, so that's gone. Another thing I would, locate is another thing. So as opposed to find my iPhone, which is a proprietary thing within Apple, and I think Google has a similar thing. You can also do exactly the same thing with MaaS360. So if I go and look for the location details, and this is probably a violation to the GDPR, but you will find where this device is. And if it turns out to be right, it should be my home location because I'm working from home. So this also allows you in some industries to actually find things. And things cannot only be devices, so it's not always the aim to find where somebody's hanging out, but we can also manage other and especially Android things. No, that's my neighbor, so I'm not living at 94, it's 92 in fact, but it's pretty close.
We have to blur that in the recordings.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but as I said, so you can also use that, for example, to find your kiosk or find your printer or other, let's say, devices which are not directly related to a specific person, but rather are rather shared and part of an IoT system or even a car, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to show for the demo.
Okay. So I think that it's already good for a first session on MaaS360, and we'll see how we can dig a bit deeper into the endpoint management and threat management features of MaaS360. So I think this will conclude our session for today, and hope to see you on the next one.
All right.
Yeah.
See you later, guys.
See you later. Bye bye.
See you later. Bye.